Former President Donald Trump scored some big wins yesterday in front of the entire nation, seizing on the special counsel's decision not to charge President Biden over his mishandling of classified documents. Trump is now calling out the Biden DOJ for two standards of justice and demanding charges against him be dropped. And on the campaign trail, Trump swept yesterday's Nevada Republican caucus, earning all 26 delegates. Perhaps his biggest triumph of the day, though, was the U.S. Supreme Court arguments on Colorado's push to remove him from its primary ballot. Even the liberal justices on the court sounded ready to decide in Trump's favor. A decision is expected to come in days or weeks.
So I just say that in watching the Supreme Court today, I thought it's a very beautiful process. I hope that democracy in this country will continue. I thought the presentation today was a very good one. I think it was well received. I hope it was well received. You have millions of people that are out there wanting to vote, and they happen to want to vote for me.
So I know you and Senator Ted Cruz of Texas got together and did your podcast yesterday. This had to have come up.
Yeah. There's two things here that I think that are going to be really important, and Senator Cruz talked about this. One, he thinks it's going to be swift. He clerked to the Supreme Court. He kind of knows how it works. Reading that room, he said he wouldn't be surprised if this comes back quickly as a 9-0 decision. Because
not
of the
way.
Not even
Sotomayor against it.
Yeah, there's a good chance of 9-0. And the reason why is because the precedent here. If you have people that are not elected, that are appointed in other states that can decide who you can vote for and who you can't vote for, and that's what this is really about. It's bigger than Colorado at this point. And I think the Supreme Court justices are going to say, hey, this is wrong. We're going to make sure that no one else in the country thinks that you can do this moving forward. And we must come down united with precedent to make sure that this country stays together. And I think there's a very good chance that could happen. And I think there's going to be lobbying from some of the liberal Supreme Court justices on their colleagues to say this one we really have to get right for the future of the United States of America.
Yeah, I mean, they talked about ambiguity.
Yeah.
And not.
And that's coming from liberals saying that.
Yeah, not wanting to go forward if there was ambiguity. I think that was Ketanji Brown Jackson. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was her. So Trump yesterday, though, was able to command some time.
Yeah.
In the middle of the day. We took him live on this program. Not everybody did. Here's CNN cutting away from live remarks being delivered by former President Trump, and then, for some unexplained reason, busting out into laughter.
Iran was broke when I left. They had no money to give to Hamas. They had no money to give to
I think we've gotten all the legal analysis we're going to get out of President Trump. You know, it's odd there because this was actually an opportunity for her to come out and say.
No, it's not, because he wants to talk about himself. Right. He doesn't want to talk about the Supreme Court and say, oh, the Supreme Court did a nice job today.
You know, Kayleigh, it's interesting because the example that I gave earlier of when Biden couldn't remember who was fighting Israel, couldn't remember the name of the terrorist, Hamas, and a reporter had to kick him that word. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't remember that. It's ironic that that's where they pull away, because what the former president was saying is Iran didn't have enough money to send it to all of those proxies.
Yeah. What was their reason for pulling away? That Trump was having a great moment? Yesterday was arguably one of the best 24-hour news cycles for Trump and one of the absolute worst for President Biden. And when Trump took to his press conference, he spoke about the American people. He spoke about the issues, to your point, Iran. He talked about Israel. He talked about Ukraine. He talked about American steel jobs. The list goes on. The border. He was calm. He was measured. It was an excellent moment. And contrast that with the Biden press conference. Angry, defiant, defensive about him, not about you. That's what happened. If the Trump we saw yesterday meets the Biden we saw yesterday on a debate stage, game over. Game over.
Yeah, I'd say if they met in the hallway.
Biden
might not get a word in edgewise.
He looked presidential. And if you talk to conservatives that were worried about Trump and how he was going to run, they were worried he'd get off message. They were worried he was going to relitigate the past. I think he's clearly listening to people around him now, because the way that he handled himself yesterday, when he could have come out and said, I'm going to nail this thing. Like, I'm going to go after you and you and you. He stayed on point and on focus. It was a brilliant presidential moment. It reminded people why he should run the country.
So it was interesting. I thought, you know, the CNN panel was saying that he wants to make it all about himself. Oddly enough, it was all about the American people in terms of policy. You know, I thought that was, yes, and of course he's going to talk about the Supreme Court situation because he was asked about it by one of the reporters.
Yeah, and I thought it was really interesting. I was looking out for Colorado Secretary of State Jenna Griswold, how she was going to respond to this takedown, because she's one of the big people who's trying to fight to keep Trump off the ballot. And her response to the liberal justices questioning, like, should one state really decide who's going to be the next president? She responded on another network saying, well, conservative states have voter suppression laws that disenfranchise black voters. So what? So you want to do the same thing? That's not a great argument. And of course, that's not true. But you could see them spinning, and, you know, Trump, it was good news for him. So I think it was easy to sound gracious. Hopefully he could do that sometimes when he gets bad news as well. He can keep that up. But it was an unbelievably good day for the former president.
Well, look, he forecast how he's going to handle the immunity situation. I mean, that's the next big one. He said, I'm going to talk about that next week. I mean, he's a marketing genius.
Let's also just think about this. The atrocious week that Joe Biden had, gaffing 1, 2, 3, 4 times, calling on dead people at least twice. And then you've got President Trump that's got everything stacked against this man, and he still comes out like a fighter. He wants to talk to the press, whether CNN wants to cut away or not. This is a man who wants to tell his story, and you juxtapose that to a man who can't remember basic details. The American people are seeing a clear vision of what our country can be. They're seeing one that's not competent to stand trial, and they're seeing another one who has trial after trial thrown at him, and he still stands tall. That's your vision for America, and I guess the voters are going to have to choose come November if Joe is the nominee, which I still maintain he will not be.
Interesting.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.